The great council hall stretched out like a silver ocean under artificial stars. Hundreds of alien beings filled the curved seats, their strange forms casting shadows in the soft blue light. At the center of it all sat Hyun-woo, Earth's ambassador, looking small and ordinary among the towering creatures around him. The Zephyrian Chancellor stood at the podium, its four arms moving like deadly snakes as it spoke. Its voice echoed through translation devices in dozens of languages. The matter of the human problem has been decided. Species 7 Alpha 9, known as humanity, will surrender all weapons immediately. Hyun-woo kept his face calm, but his hands tightened on the armrests of his chair. Around him, alien heads turned to watch his reaction. Some looked curious, others seemed hungry, like predators watching wounded prey. Furthermore, the Chancellor continued, all human military forces will be disbanded. Human worlds will accept Federation protection teams to ensure compliance. This is not a request. This is the final word of the Galactic Federation. A low rumble of approval rolled through the chamber. The crystalline delegation chimed like breaking glass. The hive minds buzzed in perfect harmony. Even the usually silent stonewalkers shifted their massive forms in what passed for agreement among their kind. Hyun-woo stood slowly. His movement seemed tiny in the vast hall, but somehow every eye fixed on him. The translator at his collar picked up his voice and carried it to every corner of the chamber. Honored Chancellor, he said, his voice steady and polite, Earth appreciates the Federation's concern for galactic peace. However, we must respectfully decline your generous offer. The silence that followed was complete. Not even the constant hum of life support systems could be heard. Then the laughter started. It began with the Vorthon delegation, their high-pitched chittering filling the air. Soon, dozens of species joined in, creating a symphony of alien amusement. The Chancellor's four eyes narrowed. You misunderstand, human. This is not a negotiation. Your species has proven too violent, too unpredictable for free existence in civilized space. You will comply, or you will face the consequences. Hyun-woo nodded thoughtfully. I see. And these consequences would be? Total war, the Chancellor said, its voice dropping to a threatening whisper. The combined might of 800 worlds will fall upon your little blue planet. Your cities will burn. Your people will kneel. And when the smoke clears, humanity will serve the Federation as it should have from the beginning. The ambassador reached into his jacket pocket. Security drones immediately focused on him, weapons charging, but he pulled out only a small communication device. He activated it with a soft click. Chancellor, before I respond, I'd like to share something with the Federation. A message from Earth. The device projected a hologram above Hyun-woo's head. It showed a simple room with wooden walls and a single desk. Behind the desk sat a woman in a plain uniform. Her name tag read, Jin-ho, Defense Secretary. Jin-ho looked directly into the camera, her expression serious but calm. To the Galactic Federation Council, she began. For 52 years, Earth has been a member of your organization. For 52 years, we have followed your rules, paid your taxes, and accepted your judgment on matters great and small. The chamber had grown quiet again. Even the most arrogant delegates leaned forward to listen. During this time, Jin-ho continued, you have made it clear that humanity is unwelcome among you. You have called us primitive. You have called us violent. You have treated us like dangerous children who cannot be trusted with sharp objects. She paused, her lips curving into the smallest of smiles. Today, we discover that you were absolutely right. The hologram flickered and changed. Now it showed images from across human space, ships launching from hidden bases, weapon systems coming online, soldiers marching in perfect formation. You see, we learned something important during our first year in the Federation, Jin-ho explained. We learned that you don't respect weakness. You don't reward kindness. You only understand strength, so we decided to speak your language. The images showed more. Construction projects that had been disguised as mining operations, research stations that were actually weapons factories, civilian freighters opening to reveal military hardware. For 50 years, we have been preparing for this day. Every treaty we signed included secret clauses. Every trade agreement hid military supplies. Every diplomatic mission carried intelligence officers. We have been building, planning, and waiting. Chancellor's forearms began to shake with rage. Impossible! Our observers watched everything. Our inspectors verified compliance. Jinho's smile grew wider. Your observers saw exactly what we wanted them to see. As for your inspectors, the hologram changed again, showing a Federation official shaking hands with a human. Let's just say that some of them have been working for us for quite some time. The chamber erupted into chaos. Delegates shouted in dozens of languages. Accusations flew back and forth. Security forces moved to ready positions. Hyunwoo remained calm in the center of the storm. He waited for the noise to die down before speaking again. So, to answer your question, Chancellor, he said pleasantly. Yes, humanity respectfully declines your offer of protection. We choose to remain free. The Chancellor's voice was a roar of fury. Then you choose death. The Federation declares war on the human species. We will crush you like the insects you are. War it is then, Hyunwoo agreed. He reached for his communication device again. This time, when he activated it, a different voice filled the chamber. It was deep and calm, with the confidence of someone who had been waiting a very long time for this moment. This is Admiral Kang Min of the Earth Defense Force, the voice said. All human vessels, all human stations, all human forces across the galaxy. The waiting is over. Protocol Omega is now in effect. I repeat, Protocol Omega is in effect. Hyunwoo looked around. The chamber one last time. Many of the delegates were already rushing for the exits, trying to contact their home worlds. Others sat frozen in shock. A few watched him with what might have been respect. Chancellor, he said, gathering his papers with careful precision. You wanted to see humanity's true nature. Congratulations. You're about to get your wish. He paused at the edge of his seat. I suggest you buckle up. It's going to be a very interesting war. As alarms began to sound throughout the Federation capital, Hyunwoo walked calmly from the chamber. Behind him, the greatest military alliance in galactic history began to mobilize for war against a single small planet. They had no idea what they had just awakened. Light years away, on a dozen human worlds, ancient machines came to life. Hidden, factories began production runs that had been planned for decades. Sleeper agents checked their weapons and activated their secret communications. The Federation had declared war on humanity, expecting quick surrender from a primitive species. Instead, they had just poked a sleeping tiger, and Earth was smiling. The emergency sirens had been wailing for 6 hours across New Seoul Station when Tae-young finally allowed himself to smile. He stood in the command center deep inside what everyone thought was a simple asteroid mining facility. Around him, dozens of screens showed the real purpose of this place. Sir, all secondary sites are reporting ready, called out Lieutenant Hana from her position at the communications array. The mining colonies, the research stations, the trading posts, they're all coming online. Tae-young nodded, watching as red dots turned green across the galaxy map. Each dot represented what the Federation believed was a peaceful human outpost. They were wrong about every single one. 67 hidden military bases, he said quietly. 300 disguised weapons platforms, 41 secret shipyards, and they never suspected a thing. The main screen flickered, showing a live feed from Earth. Yoonji appeared, her engineer's uniform somehow making her look more dangerous than any soldier. Behind her, massive doors were opening in what had appeared to be simple mountains. Black. Mountain base is fully operational, she reported. All fusion reactors online. Production facilities at maximum capacity. We're currently rolling out the first wave of Thunderbird fighters. Tae-young had seen the plans for the Thunderbirds. They looked like normal human spacecraft from the outside. Inside, they carried technology that would make Federation engineers weep. Plasma cannons that could punch through any known shield. Stealth systems that bent light itself. And most importantly, human pilots who had been training in secret for 20 years. What about the special projects? He asked. Yoonji's grin was sharp as a blade. The wolves are ready for deployment. 50 ships that look like cargo haulers, but carry enough firepower to take on a Federation battlecruiser. The Federation scanners will read them as simple transport vessels right up until they start shooting. Another screen activated, showing the craggy face of Dong-hyun. The former Federation observer had defected to humanity 15 years ago, bringing with him secrets that had shaped their entire war plan. "The resistance networks are responding to our signals," he reported. 17 different species have confirmed they're ready to move when we give the word. The Kepler mining slaves, the Vega colony workers, the subjugated populations across 40 systems, they're all waiting for proof that the Federation can be beaten. Tae Young felt a cold satisfaction settle in his chest. The Federation ruled. Through fear and overwhelming force, they had never faced a real challenge to their authority. Today, that was about to change. "Sir!" Hana's voice was excited. "We're getting reports from the Outer Rim. Federation scout fleets are moving toward our colonies. Looks like they're planning to pick off our settlements one by one." "How many ships?" "First wave appears to be about 30 vessels per target. They're hitting Proxima, Kepler 442, and Wolf 359 simultaneously." Tae Young almost felt sorry for them. The Federation commanders were following their standard playbook, overwhelming force against primitive opponents. They had no idea that Seok Jin and his defense teams had been preparing for exactly this scenario. The communication array crackled to life. "This is Commander Seok Jin at Proxima Colony. Federation fleet detected at the edge of our system. 37 ships, including 6 heavy cruisers. They're demanding our immediate surrender." "What's your response, Commander?" Tae Young asked. "We're inviting them to come and take it, sir." The main screen split to show feeds from all 3 colonies under attack. To Federation eyes, they would see small, lightly defended human settlements. Mining equipment, civilian buildings, and what appeared to be minimal military presence. They couldn't see the weapons hidden inside asteroids. They couldn't detect the military ships disguised as cargo haulers. They had no idea that every civilian structure contained enough firepower to level a city. "Federation fleets are entering weapons range," Hana reported. "They're broadcasting surrender demands on all frequencies." "Let them talk," Tae Young said. "Actions speak louder than words." On the Proxima feed, he could see the Federation fleet arranging itself in their standard attack formation. Massive ships bristling with weapons, confident in their technological superiority. Their admiral was probably already composing his victory report. "Sir, Commander Seok Jin is requesting permission to reveal Phase 1 assets." "Permission granted. Show them what humanity really built out here." The change was dramatic. Across all 3 systems, what had appeared to be simple asteroids suddenly bloomed with weapon signatures. Mining platforms revealed themselves as mobile battle stations. Cargo ships dropped their disguises and emerged as sleek warships. "Federation fleets are showing confusion," Hana announced. "Their formation is breaking as they try to respond to multiple targets." The screen showed the first exchange of fire. Federation plasma beams struck human shields, expecting to overwhelm them with superior firepower. Instead, the human defenses held. Worse, they began shooting back with weapons the Federation had never seen before. "Those are beautiful," Yoonji said, watching a swarm of human missiles weave through Federation defensive fire. "Adaptive targeting, quantum guidance, and warheads designed specifically to exploit Zephyrian armor weaknesses." The Federation ships began to retreat. It wasn't a fighting withdrawal, it was panic. Their admirals had expected easy victories against primitive humans. Instead, they were facing coordinated resistance from forces that seemed to know exactly how to hurt them. "Sir, we're receiving signals from across the galaxy," Dong Hyun reported. "Species that have been watching the Federation's expansion are asking for more information. They want to know if humanity is really fighting back successfully." Tae Young nodded to the communications officer. "Put me on the galactic emergency frequency, full broadcast." When the channel opened, his voice carried to every inhabited world in known space. "This is General Tae Young of the Earth Defense Force. Today, the Galactic Federation declared war on humanity. They promised to crush us like insects." He paused, watching the tactical displays show Federation fleets in full retreat. "We respectfully disagree." The communication ended, but its impact would ripple across the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, someone had bloodied the Federation's nose. "What are your orders, sir?" Hana asked. Tae Young studied the star map, noting Federation fleet movements and troop deployments. The enemy was regrouping, calling for reinforcements. Soon, they would return with overwhelming force. "Good. Let them come." "Signal all Phase 2. Facilities," he ordered. Begin the next reveal. It's time to show the Federation that Proxima was just the warm-up. Around him, his staff began working with the efficiency of people who had been preparing for this moment their entire lives. Across human space, hidden weapons came online. Secret allies received their activation codes. The real war was about to begin. The Federation thought they were fighting a primitive species defending their homes. They were wrong. They were fighting a carefully planned military campaign that had been 50 years in the making. And humanity was just getting started. Commander Jae-hyun watched the Federation Armada approach Proxima Colony through his tactical display. 200 ships this time, including some of the Federation's most powerful battleships. The aliens had learned from their first defeat. They weren't taking any chances. "Sir, they're demanding surrender again," reported his communications officer. "Tell them we're considering it," Jae-hyun replied calmly. "Ask for 30 minutes to discuss terms." His bridge crew exchanged glances. They all knew there would be no surrender. The 30 minutes would be used for something else entirely. Signal. "The mining platforms," he ordered. "Begin Operation Maze Runner." Across the Proxima system, what appeared to be simple asteroid mining operations began to move. The Federation fleet watched in confusion as civilian mining ships started towing asteroids into new positions. To alien eyes, it looked like humans were trying to build some kind of defensive barrier. They were half right. "Yu-jin, are you ready?" "With the special package?" Jae-hyun asked through his secure channel. Dr. Yu-jin's voice came back steady and professional. "Sonic resonance weapons are loaded and targeted. The crystalline ships won't know what hit them. Their hearing organs are about to experience some very unpleasant feedback." The Federation fleet finished its approach, confident in its overwhelming numbers. Their admiral, a towering Zephyrian, broadcast his final ultimatum. "Humans of Proxima Colony, you have 10 minutes to surrender all weapons and personnel. Failure to comply will result in orbital bombardment." "This is Commander Jae-hyun," he replied. "We accept your generous offer. However, we have one small request." "Speak quickly, human." "We'd like to show you something first, a demonstration of our mining techniques. We think you'll find it educational." Before the Federation admiral could respond, the asteroids that had been positioned throughout the system suddenly exploded. But these weren't random detonations. Each blast was precisely calculated, sending chunks of rock flying in specific directions at exact velocities. The Federation fleet found itself in the middle of a carefully orchestrated meteor storm. Ships that had been arranged in perfect military formation were suddenly dodging house-sized rocks, traveling at incredible speeds. Their defensive fire lit up space as they tried to destroy the incoming projectiles. "Now," Jae-hyun ordered. The human ships dropped their disguises and attacked. But they didn't engage in traditional space combat. Instead, they used tactics that seemed insane to alien minds. Human fighters dove straight into the Federation formation, ignoring defensive fire that should have destroyed them. They rammed into enemy ships, their pilots ejecting at the last second to be picked up by rescue craft. To the aliens, it looked like humans were throwing their lives away for minimal damage. They didn't understand that each ramming attack was precisely targeted. The human pilots weren't trying to destroy enemy ships. They were placing tracking devices and electromagnetic disruptors. Every successful ram made the Federation fleet more vulnerable to the real attack. "Wu Young, you're clear for boarding." "Operations," Jae-hyun announced. In the middle of the chaos, Wu Young led his Special Forces team toward the Federation command ship. Their transport looked like debris from a destroyed human vessel. Federation scanners dismissed it as wreckage, allowing it to drift close to their flagship. Wu Young's team cut through the hull using tools that were barely controlled explosions. They dropped into the alien ship wearing armor that looked like it had been built in a scrapyard. The Federation crew took one look at these primitive humans and opened fire with advanced energy weapons. The human armor absorbed the shots and kept coming. "Remember," Wu Young said to his team as they fought through the corridors, "these aliens have never faced hand-to-hand combat. They rely on technology and numbers. We're going to show them what humans learned fighting each other for thousands of years." The battle inside the Federation flagship was brutal and short. Alien crew members, used to fighting from a distance with energy weapons, had no idea how to respond to humans who closed to melee range and used improvised weapons. Wu Young's team moved through the ship like a force of nature, capturing key positions and taking hostages. Within an hour, they had control of the bridge. "This is Commander Wu Young calling Federation Admiral Vorthak. he announced over the ship's communication system. Your flagship is now under human control. Your crew is unharmed but confined. I suggest you reconsider your attack. The Federation Admiral's response was a roar of fury that could be heard even without translation. Impossible! No primitive species could capture a Federation command ship. Sir, interrupted one of the Admiral's subordinates, we're detecting massive power surges from their colony. It appears they're charging some kind of weapon system. On the surface of Proxima's largest moon, Ha-Un watched her diplomatic team's work come to fruition. For months, they had been secretly negotiating with oppressed species throughout Federation space. Today, those negotiations paid off. This is Ha-Un of the Human Diplomatic Corps, broadcasting on all frequencies, she announced. To the enslaved peoples of the galaxy, we offer proof that the Federation can be defeated. Today, a single human colony has captured a Federation flagship and forced an entire fleet to retreat. Her message was accompanied by visual proof, images of human forces, in control of Federation vessels, video of alien crew members surrendering to primitive humans. Most importantly, footage of Federation ships fleeing from human space. The effect across the galaxy was immediate. On dozens of worlds, oppressed populations began to whisper among themselves. If humans could fight the Federation successfully, perhaps they could too. Sir, Yujin reported to Jae-hyun, the crystalline ships are retreating. The sonic weapons worked perfectly. Half their fleet is dealing with hearing damage, and the other half is too frightened to continue the attack. What about the hive mind vessels? Even better. The electromagnetic pulse weapons disrupted their shared consciousness. They're flying in random patterns, completely unable to coordinate their actions. Jae-hyun watched the Federation fleet pulling back to a safe distance. They weren't retreating, not yet, but they were definitely reconsidering their approach. Signal Earth Command, he ordered. Tell them Phase 3 was a complete success. Federation forces have been repelled with minimal human casualties. Enemy morale appears to be significantly damaged. As the communication went out, Jae-hyun allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The Federation had expected easy victories against primitive humans. Instead, they had encountered coordinated resistance, advanced weapons, and tactics they had never seen before. But this was just the beginning. The real message wasn't the military defeat, it was the psychological impact. Across the galaxy, billions of oppressed beings were learning that the Federation could be beaten. The sleeping giant hadn't just awakened. It had started to roar, and the sound was carrying to every corner of known space, inspiring those who had given up hope and terrifying those who had ruled through fear for too long. The war was far from over, but the galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Changmin stood before the holographic display, showing 12 star systems spread across Federation space. Each system glowed with tactical markers, indicating military installations, supply depots, and communication hubs. In 6 hours, human forces would strike all of them simultaneously. Operation Prometheus is our largest offensive to date, he announced to the assembled task force commanders. 12 systems, 37 targets, complete surprise. The Federation thinks we're still hiding in our home systems, licking our wounds. They're about to learn otherwise. Captain Hai-jin stepped forward, her deep strike unit's patch visible on her shoulder, a wolf's head surrounded by stars. Sir, my teams have been studying Federation technology for 3 weeks now. We've captured enough equipment to reverse engineer their shield generators, weapon systems, and even their faster-than-light drives. Changmin nodded. This was humanity's greatest advantage: adaptability. While Federation species stuck to their traditional methods, humans learned and improved constantly. What had taken the Federation centuries to develop, human engineers like Sung-ho could understand and improve upon in days. Show them what we've accomplished, Changmin ordered. The holographic display changed to show technical schematics. Hai-jin manipulated the image with practiced ease. Federation plasma cannons fire in predictable patterns. We've developed armor that deflects their shots at specific angles. Their shield technology uses quantum resonance frequencies. We've built weapons that disrupt those frequencies. Most importantly, she continued, their ships are designed for long-range combat between disciplined fleets. They're not built for the kind of close-quarters chaos that humans excel at. The display showed combat footage from recent battles. Human ships moved like wild animals, unpredictable and aggressive. They used ramming attacks, boarding actions, and weapons that seemed designed more for psychological impact than pure destruction. "The Federation is learning to fear us," Chang Min observed. "But fear only works if they believe they're fighting desperate defenders. Today, we show them they're wrong. Today, we take the war to them." Across human space, strike teams prepared for launch. In Young reviewed her mission parameters one final time. Her target was the Kepler mining complex, where the Federation had enslaved the local population for over a century. "Remember," she told her Liberation Force, "we're not just attacking a military target. We're freeing people who have never known hope. Make it count." Her ships looked like converted cargo haulers, battered and slow. Federation scanners would dismiss them as civilian vessels fleeing the war zone. By the time the aliens realized their mistake, In Young's forces would be inside their defensive perimeter. Meanwhile, on Earth, Kyung-soo prepared his psychological warfare campaign. Every Federation defeat, every human victory, every image of alien forces retreating, all of it would be broadcast across the galaxy within hours of Operation Prometheus. "The message is simple," he explained to his propaganda team. "The Federation is not invincible. Humans can beat them. Anyone can beat them." The operation began at exactly 0300 Galactic Standard Time. 12 human task forces dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of their target systems. Federation defenders detected them immediately, but the readings didn't make sense. The human ships were broadcasting old Federation identification codes. Their signatures matched vessels that had been destroyed weeks ago in previous battles. "Sir, we're receiving confused communications from Federation Traffic Control," reported Lieutenant Min-ah from the communications station. "They're asking us to identify ourselves and explain our presence." Chang Min smiled grimly. "Tell them we're returning home from a successful mission against human forces. Request permission to dock for repairs and resupply." It was an audacious bluff, but it worked. Federation forces, convinced that their own ships were returning victorious, allowed the human task forces to approach their most sensitive installations. The strikes were devastating. Hye Jin's unit hit the central communications hub for the entire sector. Using captured Federation codes, they gained access to the facility's computer systems and downloaded terabytes of classified data before destroying the installation completely. "We've got fleet deployment plans, supply schedules, and political intelligence reports," she reported as her team withdrew. "This information will keep us ahead of their movements for months." At the Kepler mining complex, In Young's Liberation Force encountered minimal resistance. The Federation guards were completely unprepared for an attack that came from inside their own defensive network. "This is In Young to all enslaved workers," she broadcast on the facility's internal communication system. "Human forces are here to liberate you. Stay in your quarters until we secure the facility." The battle was swift and brutal. Federation forces found themselves fighting in the narrow corridors and industrial spaces of their own installation. Human soldiers, trained in urban combat and improvised warfare, overwhelmed alien troops who were used to fighting in open space. Within 2 hours, the entire complex was under human control. "Begin Phase 2, In Young ordered. "Strip everything useful, destroy everything else, and prepare the population for evacuation." Her soldiers worked with mechanical efficiency. Weapons, technology, supplies, anything that could help the human war effort was loaded onto transport ships. Everything else was systematically destroyed. But the real victory wasn't military. It was the look in the eyes of the liberated workers as they realized their centuries of slavery were over. "This is what we're really fighting for," In Young told her troops as they watched former slaves board evacuation ships. "Not just human freedom. Freedom for everyone who has been crushed under the Federation's boot." The other task forces reported similar successes. Supply depots emptied and destroyed. Administrative centers captured and ransacked. Military installations overwhelmed by human forces that appeared from nowhere and vanished just as quickly. But the most important target was saved for last. Sung-ho led a specialized team against the Federation's primary research facility. Their mission wasn't destruction. It was theft. For decades, the Federation had hoarded advanced technology, keeping it from member species to maintain their technological advantage. "Security is lighter than expected," Sung Ho reported as his team infiltrated the facility. They never imagined anyone would be bold enough to attack their most sacred installation. His engineers worked quickly, copying data and stealing prototypes. Faster-than-light communication systems, advanced medical technology, weapons designs that were centuries ahead of anything humanity possessed. "Sir, you need to see this," called out one of his technicians. "We've found their central database. It contains technical specifications for every piece of technology in Federation space." Sung Ho felt his breath catch. This was beyond their wildest hopes. With this information, humanity could leapfrog centuries of development in months. "Copy everything," he ordered. "Every file, every schematic, every technical manual. This is the key to winning the war." As the task forces withdrew from their targets, Kyung-soo's propaganda campaign went into full effect. Images of Federation. Facilities burning. Video of liberated slaves celebrating their freedom. Most importantly, footage of human forces operating deep inside Federation space with apparent impunity. The psychological impact was immediate and devastating. "Sir, we're receiving reports from across the galaxy," Min-Ah announced. 3 more species have openly rebelled against Federation rule. 17 others are reporting civil unrest. Federation forces are being recalled from frontline positions to deal with internal problems. Changmin studied the tactical displays showing the changing situation across known space. Operation Prometheus had accomplished more than he had dared hope. Not only had they struck serious blows against Federation infrastructure, but they had inspired a galaxy-wide uprising. "Signal all task forces," he ordered. "Phase 4 is approved. It's time to show the Federation that their darkest nightmares are just beginning." As human ships disappeared into faster-than-light travel, carrying their stolen technology and liberated populations, the galaxy began to understand that this was no longer a war between the Federation and a single rebellious species. This was a revolution. And humanity had just proven that the Federation's greatest enemy wasn't advanced technology or superior numbers. It was the simple idea that freedom was worth fighting for, no matter the odds. Intelligence Director Jun Seo stood in the secure briefing room deep beneath Seoul, surrounded by holographic displays showing Federation territory. Red markers indicated human agents in position. Green dots showed successful infiltrations. The scope of humanity's intelligence network was finally being revealed. "For 53 years, we have been placing our people in key positions throughout Federation space," he announced to the assembled operatives. University professors, trade representatives, technical advisors, even janitors and maintenance workers. Today, they all activate simultaneously. Agent Subin monitored the communication channels as activation codes went out across the galaxy. Each sleeper agent had spent years, sometimes decades, building their cover identities. The Federation had never suspected that the helpful human trade advisor was really a military intelligence officer, or that the quiet research assistant was actually an expert in sabotage. "Sir, we're receiving confirmations from all major Federation worlds," Subin reported. "Agents are in position at shipyards, command centers, communication hubs, and government facilities. They're ready to proceed." Jun Seo nodded grimly. The Federation was about to discover that their greatest weakness wasn't military. It was trust. They had assumed that humans, being primitive and direct, would never be capable of long-term deception. They were catastrophically wrong. "Begin Operation Spiderweb," he ordered. Across Federation space, human agents began their coordinated sabotage campaign. At the Centauri Naval Shipyard, maintenance worker Gitai introduced a computer virus into the construction system. New Federation warships would now have critical flaws built into their hull plating. They would look perfect until they faced combat stress. On the Federation capital world, Professor Yan Wu had spent 15 years teaching alien engineering, students while secretly mapping the planet's infrastructure. Now she activated hidden explosive charges she had placed in key power distribution centers. Half the planet's defense grid went dark in synchronized blackouts. But the most devastating blow came from Trade Representative Na Young, who had gained access to the Federation's central banking system. With careful precision, she began transferring Federation military funds to accounts controlled by resistance movements throughout the galaxy. "Sir, the financial markets are in complete chaos," reported economic analyst Tae Ho from his monitoring station. "Federation military spending has increased by 3,000% trying to fund this war. Now their primary funding sources are being systematically drained. Jun Seo watched the tactical displays as reports flowed in from across the galaxy. Supply convoys were being ambushed by groups that somehow knew their exact routes and schedules. Military communications were being intercepted and decoded. Federation commanders were receiving contradictory orders that sent their fleets to the wrong systems. The beauty of this operation, he explained to his staff, is that the Federation can't tell the difference between sabotage and system failures. Their technology is so complex that when something goes wrong, they assume it's a technical malfunction. Meanwhile, on Earth's primary defense perimeter, General Subin prepared for the Federation's most desperate gambit. Satellite reconnaissance showed massive Federation fleets converging on the solar system. The aliens had decided to end the war by attacking humanity's homeworld directly. They're bringing everything they have, her tactical officer reported. Over 3,000 ships, including their most powerful dreadnoughts. This is the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history. Subin studied the enemy formations through her command display. The Federation had learned from their previous defeats. This time, they weren't underestimating human capabilities. They were approaching with overwhelming force and maximum caution. What they don't realize, she said calmly, is that we've had 50 years to prepare Earth's defenses, and we've learned a lot about Federation tactics since this war began. The solar system looked like any other star system to Federation scanners. A few planets, some asteroid belts, and what appeared to be light defensive installations around the inhabited worlds. The Federation fleet prepared for a quick, decisive battle. They had no idea that every asteroid had been hollowed out and filled with weapons. They couldn't detect the massive gun emplacements hidden beneath Earth's surface. Their sensors were blind to the stealth platforms that had been positioned throughout the system decades ago. "Sir, Federation advance forces are entering the outer system," reported her communications officer. "They're demanding Earth's immediate surrender." "Tell them we're considering their generous offer," Subin replied. "Ask for time to evacuate our civilian population." It was the same delaying tactic that had worked so many times before. The Federation, believing they held all the advantages, graciously agreed to a brief delay. They wanted to appear civilized, even in conquest. Those few hours gave Earth's population time to take their positions. This wasn't an evacuation. It was the largest civilian mobilization in human history. Across Earth's surface, ordinary citizens opened hidden weapons caches and manned defensive positions. The Federation expected to find a helpless population waiting for rescue. Instead, they would face a planet where every man, woman, and child was prepared to fight. "This is what makes us different from them," Subin observed as she watched civilian defense teams take their positions. "The Federation's member species fight because they're ordered to. Humans fight because we choose to. Our entire population is our army." The battle began when Federation forces started their approach to Earth. They moved carefully, expecting hidden defenses and prepared for resistance. What they got exceeded their worst nightmares. The asteroid belt erupted with weapons fire. Rocks that had floated harmlessly for millions of years suddenly revealed themselves as massive battle stations. The Federation fleet found itself trapped in a crossfire from weapons platforms they hadn't even known existed. "This is Captain Gite commanding Asteroid Defense Platform 7, came the voice over the communication channel. "We have the Federation advance guard in our sights. Permission to show them what human engineering really looks like?" "Permission granted," Subin replied. "Light them up." The weapons that emerged from the disguised asteroids weren't just advanced, they were revolutionary. Human engineers had taken captured Federation technology and combined it with their own innovations. The result was devastating. Federation shields, designed to repel conventional energy weapons, found themselves facing plasma bursts that phased in and out of normal space. Their armor, built to withstand known projectiles, cracked under the impact of kinetic weapons that violated several laws of physics. "Sir, we're receiving casualty reports from the Federation fleet," the communications officer announced. "They've lost over 200 ships in the first hour of combat. Their admiral is requesting immediate reinforcements." But the real shock came when Federation forces tried to land troops on Earth's surface. They expected to find civilian populations cowering in their cities. Instead, they encountered organized resistance from every street corner. This is Militia Commander Hyunju reporting from New Tokyo, came the voice from Earth's surface. Federation landing craft are being engaged by citizen defense forces. We have teenagers with anti-aircraft missiles and grandmothers operating heavy weapons. The aliens have never seen anything like this. The psychological impact on Federation forces was devastating. They were used to fighting disciplined military units or helpless civilian populations. They had no idea how to respond to an entire planet that fought with the coordination of an army but the determination of people defending their homes. Sir, Federation communications are in chaos, reported the intelligence officer. Their field commanders are requesting permission to withdraw. They're calling Earth a fortress world and recommending orbital bombardment as the only viable option. Subin smiled coldly. The Federation was about to make their final mistake. Let them try bombardment, she said. It's time to show them our last surprise. As Federation dreadnoughts moved into position for orbital bombardment, hidden installations across Earth's surface revealed themselves. What the aliens thought were simple cities were actually massive shield generators. Earth's entire surface disappeared behind a defensive barrier that could withstand anything in the Federation arsenal. The planet had become an impregnable fortress, defended by a population that would never surrender. And across the galaxy, every oppressed species was watching the battle, learning that the mighty Federation could be stopped by beings who refused to kneel. The war was entering its final phase, and humanity was ready to finish what the Federation had started. Supreme Commander Tae-ho stood on the bridge of the human dreadnought Determination as it approached the Federation capital world. Around him, displays showed the remains of what had once been the galaxy's most powerful military force. Burning. Ships drifted in space. Entire fleets had surrendered rather than face annihilation. The war was over. The Federation had requested unconditional surrender 6 hours ago. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Federation Council, reported his communications officer. They're asking for terms. Tae-ho studied the planet ahead. For over 1,000 years, this world had been the center of galactic civilization. From here, orders had gone out that enslaved entire species and crushed any hint of rebellion. Today, it would become something different. Tell them we'll meet in the council chambers where this all began, he said, and tell them to bring Ambassador Hyun-woo. He should be the one to officially accept their surrender. As the human fleet settled into orbit around the capital, ships from across the galaxy began arriving. These weren't Federation vessels. They were the fleets of liberated species who had thrown off their chains when humanity proved it could be done. The Kepler miners, led by the human-trained resistance leader Kesh Vara, brought a fleet of converted mining ships. The Vega colonists arrived in vessels that had once been Federation transports, but now flew under the banner of free peoples. Dozens of other species, inspired by human example, had risen up and joined the revolution. Foreign Minister Yunsu waited in the council chambers as the defeated Federation leadership filed in. These were the same beings who had demanded humanity's surrender just months ago. Now they moved like broken creatures, their arrogance replaced by desperation. The terms are simple, she announced as the session began. The Galactic Federation is dissolved, effective immediately. All member species are granted full independence. All enslaved populations are freed. All claims of ownership over other species are void. The former Federation Chancellor, its 4 arms hanging limply at its sides, tried to object. But the galaxy needs order. Without the Federation, there will be chaos. Ambassador Hyun-woo, who had started this war with his polite refusal to surrender, stepped forward. His voice was calm but carried the authority of someone representing the victorious side. You're absolutely right, he said. The galaxy does need order, but not your kind of order. Not order based on fear and oppression. Today, we establish something new, order based on cooperation and mutual respect. Yunsu activated a holographic display showing the new galactic map. Instead of the Federation's rigid hierarchy, it showed a network of independent worlds connected by trade agreements and mutual defense pacts. We call it the Galactic Confederacy, she explained. Every species maintains full sovereignty over their own worlds. No one rules over anyone else. Members cooperate because they choose to, not because they're forced to. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Species that had been oppressed for centuries could barely believe what they were hearing. Freedom. Real freedom. not the Federation's, version of protection that was really just slavery with better marketing. "What guarantee do we have that you won't become the new oppressors?" asked a crystalline representative, its voice ringing with suspicion. Hyunwoo smiled the same smile that had started this war. "Because we don't want to rule you. We just wanted you to stop trying to rule us. There's a difference." Reconstruction Coordinator Hyun-ju took the podium next. Her job was to oversee the massive task of rebuilding a galaxy that had been torn apart by centuries of Federation oppression. "The first priority is humanitarian aid," she announced. "Human medical teams, engineering corps, and agricultural specialists are already deploying to worlds damaged by the war. We're not conquerors demanding tribute, we're neighbors offering help." The former Federation territories were a mess. Worlds that had been strip-mined for resources, populations that had been enslaved or relocated, entire species that had been reduced to serving the Federation's needs. But humanity had learned something important during their 50 years of preparation. Building things was just as important as destroying them. "This is Dr. Sujin reporting from the former mining world of Kepler 442, came the voice from the rehabilitation zone. "Local population is responding well to medical treatment. We've restored basic infrastructure and begun soil reclamation projects. Projected time to full recovery, 18 months. Similar reports came in from across the galaxy. Human teams working alongside liberated populations to rebuild what the Federation had destroyed. But more importantly, they were building something new, societies based on freedom instead of fear." President Ji-hoon addressed the first meeting of the Galactic Confederacy from the same chamber where humanity had been ordered to surrender. Representatives from over 200 species filled the seats that had once held only Federation loyalists. "We didn't fight this war to replace one empire with another," he said. "We fought it to prove that ordinary people could stand up to tyranny and win. Today we begin the hard work of building a galaxy where that never needs to happen again." The challenges were enormous. Species that had been enemies for centuries now had to learn to cooperate. Worlds that had never known freedom had to figure out how to govern themselves. Trade routes that had been controlled by the Federation had to be reorganized. But humanity had an advantage. They had been preparing for this moment just as carefully as they had prepared for war. "The Confederacy's first joint mission launches tomorrow," announced Admiral Seung-min as he addressed the mixed crews boarding exploration vessels. 50 ships crewed by representatives from 30 different species. Our destination, the unexplored, regions beyond the galaxy's edge. It was a powerful symbol. Instead of fighting over existing territories, the galaxy's new civilization would explore together. They would discover new worlds as partners, not as conquerors and conquered. Young diplomat Seung-min, one of the new generation who had grown up during the war, met with former Federation species to discuss joint exploration missions. The conversation would have been impossible under the old system, equals talking to equals about shared dreams. "You know what the real victory is?" he said to his mixed species diplomatic team. "It's not that we won the war, it's that we don't have to keep fighting it. Our children will grow up in a galaxy where cooperation is normal and oppression is just a bad memory." As the first joint exploration fleet prepared to launch, carrying crews from dozens of species working together as equals, the transformation was complete. The galaxy that had once been ruled by fear was now driven by hope. The Federation had declared war on humanity, expecting quick victory over a primitive species. Instead, they had awakened something that changed everything. The simple idea that freedom was worth fighting for, and that ordinary people could accomplish extraordinary things when they refused to give up. The war was over. The real work was just beginning, and as the exploration fleet disappeared into the unknown, carrying the dreams of a free galaxy toward distant stars, one thing was certain: the universe would never be the same again. Humanity had kept its promise. They had been ready when the time came, and their smile had become the galaxy's hope for a better tomorrow.